If you had to grade the Toronto Blue Jays first half of their season, what would you give them? I know where I stand. I kind of stand in the middle of the road. I'm not pissed off about it, but I'm not entirely happy. So I'd give them a C plus for their first half of baseball that they displayed. But coming up in the second half, they got a golden opportunity to take a stranglehold of that final wild card spot and maybe even the second wild card spot because a lot of their competitors are going to be playing shorthanded and shorthanded for quite a while. So we'll break that down and much more in this episode of Jay's Digest. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. Much needed off day today for the Toronto Blue Jays, coming off 2 wins in a row against the Oakland Athletics. The bats started to come around. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. looked like his old self in those 3 games. Granted, it was against the Oakland Athletics, so we got to take it with a grain of salt. But hopefully they can keep it going tomorrow as they open up a 3-game set against the San Francisco Giants.
Yeah, the Jays won their last 2. Like you said, very important series win, and we are now holding a playoff spot officially for the first time in what seems like forever, especially after that horrible stretch for the past couple months. But before we get into the video, make sure to hit the subscribe button. We're on the road to 7,500. And Peter, we have a few things to discuss today, and it's mainly going to be about a mix of the schedule ahead, some injury updates from other teams in the AL East that we are competing with, because we're about halfway through the season now, and this is the time for the Blue Jays to really make a run. We've discussed it. We won the series against the Athletics. Like you said, Peter, we wanted a sweep. We didn't get it, but I'll take, if we're going to lose any game, I'd rather lose the first one than win the next 2 to have momentum into today's off day, but we'll get into a couple injury updates here, but the Jays have a golden opportunity with the New York Yankees and the Houston Astros both scuffling and plagued with injuries.
Yeah, absolutely. And those injuries that we're talking about, you could argue that those 2 guys are the 2 best hitters on the planet right now, and Aaron Judge and Yordan Alvarez. Now, the Houston Astros won last night. They've won their last 2 games, if I'm not mistaken, but they do not look like the same team without that thump in the lineup. I mean, Alex Bregman's a good player. Jose Altuve has been in and out of the lineups with injuries, so they haven't been fully healthy. And of course, if you're the Blue Jays, you want to beat teams at their best, but you also got to take advantage of these opportunities that arise. So right now they're in the 3rd wild card spot, and I tend to not scoreboard watch or not standings watch this early on into the season, but you can't help yourself, especially the way that the team has been scuffling. But it's not even about the standings. It's not about firmly grasping onto that 3rd wild card spot or that 2nd wild card spot. Whatever you're working for, if you're the Blue Jays, you just want to be playing good baseball, and you want to have a stretch of games where you look like the team that you were expected to be. And this is a golden opportunity to go ahead and do that. You're playing against the Giants up next, which are a very good team. Then you got the Tigers, you got the Red Sox. You got some easier games up ahead in order for you to gain some momentum heading into the All-Star break, which is ultimately going to be the key for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah, and let's get into a couple of those injury, I guess, updates slash unfortunate, scenarios here for the Yankees and the Astros. We'll start with Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge, quote, can't make any promises on a timeline for his return, but expects to be back this season. He has a lingering toe problem, and the Yankees are in a bit of a different situation, I'd say, than the Astros in the sense that the Astros have a lot of good hitters despite missing Yordan Alvarez, whereas the Yankees have been pretty bad as of late. They won their game yesterday, and they've been on a bit of a hot streak the past couple games, but their offense relies on Aaron Judge, especially with Giancarlo Stanton being injured or not being the guy that he once was. They need Aaron Judge if they want to make any sort of run. And the Astros as well, which will pop up here now. You can look at the list of injury updates. This was posted about 20 hours ago yesterday. So Yordan Alvarez is still going to be out a month or longer. So he's made some progress, but nothing too crazy. Michael Brantley, let's not forget about him. He's still weeks away. He's phenomenal. Once a Blue Jay for a couple seconds there, and then right-handed pitcher Jose Urquidy, who's a phenomenal pitcher, is injured as well. So they're completely plagued with injuries. The Blue Jays have been lucky not to have been plagued with injuries, which is why we're talking about now. And I'll pop up the schedule in a minute. We need to go while these 2 guys, specifically Alvarez and Judge, and the 2 teams are, not only do they have a lot of injuries, but they're also have a harder schedule than the Blue Jays do over the next couple weeks at least. So we need to try to make at least, a few games of ground on that wild card spot.
And this doesn't directly impact the 2 teams because they won't play each other And obviously, Houston and Toronto, they wrapped up their season series. You know, they're done with each other. The Yankees and the Blue Jays, the next time they will play is in September, and Aaron Judge figures to be back by then. But he's going to be out for at least 2 months here, or maybe even a bit longer than that. So you just don't know. You gotta go ahead and take advantage of these injuries. And when you talk about the rest of the Yankees lineup, it's awful, Nick. Like they have most of their starters have WRC pluses under 100. So the league average is 100 for weighted runs created plus, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers are very familiar with the stat, or they've heard of it at least. But I can't even rattle off a few names that have a 110 WRC plus or even higher than that, apart from Aaron Judge, who is not going to be in that lineup for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, and maybe he's struggled heavily, so I wouldn't even know. Yankees fans, if you're in here, let us
Right.
know some of the guys. But yeah, they're struggling, and they have a schedule that's not as favorable as the Blue Jays' schedule, at least for the next couple weeks. And like I said, they don't play each other, which is a bit unfortunate for the Blue Jays. And we also like to mention that we obviously hope Aaron Judge and Yordan Alvarez get healthy because it's better for baseball. But for the Blue Jays side
Yeah.
of things, we touched on the Los Angeles Angels as well. They're pretty healthy right now, and they're also in the the battle for the wild card spot. But the Blue Jays, coming into the season, were kind of hoping to be the AL East champions. That's not going to happen, or at least it seems like a very far-fetched dream for now. So they just need to keep taking care of their games. And looking at the schedule ahead, Peter, we have the Giants, and that starts tomorrow. It's a 3-game set. I cut off the first game there, and then we have the Red Sox, and then we have the White Sox, and then we have the Tigers. A bunch of 3-game kind of like mini series, and Peter, the Giants were hot. They obviously lost their game yesterday, but this is a golden opportunity for the Blue Jays. The Red Sox aren't very good. I mean, they're not great anymore. The White Sox are definitely not very good. The Tigers are not very good, and the Diamondbacks are very solid in an easier NL division there. So I don't know how many you want to take out of the next, however many games this is, but regardless, the Jays need to make progress. And if we don't go on a bit of a hot streak here, then this might be our best chance, at least before the trade deadline for sure, to help Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro maybe even go all in or help them decide a direction even more.
Yeah, I believe the Diamondbacks are after the All-Star break, if I'm
It
not
might be. It might
mistaken.
not show it.
So,
Probably is.
yeah, yeah. So there you go. I mean, you got some four easier series heading into the All-Star break,
Yeah,
which
you're
is going
right.
to
Yep.
be in Seattle this year. And this is a golden opportunity. We keep referring to it. We're going to sound like broken records here. You got to go ahead and win these next four series. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. These are all teams that you should beat. These are all teams that you were expected to be better than heading into the season. And you could argue, maybe apart from the Giants, that they have been better than all of those teams. The Giants always find ways to win, no matter who they put out there on the field. And they've had a lot of guys surprised this season as well. But the Jays should handle that series at home. And we do want to see these best players be in the game when we're talking about Aaron Judge and Yordan Alvarez, because they do make the game so much better and they're so much fun to watch when they are out there on that field. But you can't worry about that if you're the Toronto Blue Jays. You can't get caught up in other teams' injury situations. You've been lucky enough to stay healthy. You haven't played good baseball up until this point of the season, but you're still above water. You're still in a playoff spot, and now you got a chance to really separate yourselves from these teams that are breathing right behind your neck.
Yeah, if you're the Blue Jays, don't even look at the standings right now. There's really no point. But for us, since we're not on the team, we can kind of touch on it and pray that we can make up some ground. And it was not too long ago, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, that we were 3.5, maybe even a couple games, worse than that, out of a playoff spot. And here we are. So we're slowly making progress. But that'll wrap up the video. Any quick final thoughts, Peter, before we wrap up?
Just I'm excited for this series coming up
Big
against the
one.
Giants. It's always fun to watch some interleague play, and hopefully the Jays could keep the offense rolling. I was very concerned after the first game against Oakland, but my concern has eased a little bit after those two pretty strong offensive showings back to back. Now, I will take it with a grain of salt once again because it is the Athletics, but if they can keep up that offensive sustainability, then it's a step in the right direction for the Jays.
Yeah, I'll take it again. Like you said, it's the Athletics, but we've struggled against some bad pitching in the past, so it's nice to see them wake up. But that'll wrap up the video. Thank you guys for your support, and we'll see you tomorrow.